Hello everybody, I am Charu Anant Rajput and today I am going to give a video presentation on the topic working with threads using Java Thread Library. Outline. The concept will be explained covering the following milestones. First would be introduction to multitasking and various applications of threads. Second would be introduction to user level threads. Then it would be followed by declaring and creating threads in Java. And fourth would be live code demonstration of various thread operation and concept implementation using Java. So coming to the first point, what is multitasking? Imagine a scenario wherein you are typing a Word document and also simultaneously listening to music. So in this scenario, you are basically performing two tasks at the same time. In general, this would be taken as multitasking. In terms of computer, I would give a live example. I am presently giving you a PPT presentation and simultaneously I have a software running in the background which is recording all my proceedings. So in this way my computer is performing the multitask of handling PPT as well as my recording software. Now coming to the topic, what are threads? Imagine a scenario wherein I am composing a mail to the Udemy support team. I perhaps may not know the exact mail address to be entered in the to field, and I might remember only some initial letters. However, when I type them, I come across an autocomplete option wherein I can choose the mail address I wish to send. So, assuming this scenario and analyzing it, you can conclude that the email compose box is a main process. The email compose box is allowing me to type and give my inputs using the keyboard. It will become a sub process, and the autocomplete option which pops up is also a sub process. So basically all these sub processes in general are known as threads. If you take a main process and break it into many sub process, then each of that sub process would be a thread. So in technical language, thread is known as the basic execution unit of a process. Now coming to the topic of uses of threads. Why do we need threads? First is multi-core processing leading to the efficient time management. Nowadays we are living in a world of multi-core processors. We are coming across quad-core processors, octa-core processors or dual-core processors. Assume a scenario wherein you are given an array of 500 elements and you wish to multiply each of those elements with 2. However, if you perform this operation using a single core, it would take a longer time. Performing the same operation using multi-core processing would save a lot of time and would thus prove to be time efficient. But in order to implement this multi-core processing approach, you need the application and implementation of threads. Similarly, coming across the second scenario, you may surf through the internet or the Amazon app in order to buy or order some basic kitchen essentials. However, whenever you are making a request to buy that, it you may not come across a scenario wherein your app freezes, while you are requesting the server to order that particular item. This is because an asynchronous request is made by a separate user thread which is created, which goes to the server and fetches a response. Meanwhile, another thread is there to ensure seamlessness of user interaction with the app. Now comes the topic of introduction to user level threads. Basically, threads in operating system are categorized into two categories: user level threads and kernel level threads. In this video lecture, we would basically have focus on the user level threads and its various types. The user level threads are completely under the control of user and the kernel remains unaware of its existence. They are generally handled as a single threaded process by the kernel. User level threads are generally much faster and efficient than the kernel level threads, given their user compatibility. Also, the synchronization mechanism is not handled by the kernel. So there are three main types of user level threads. First is POSIX-P threads, second is Windows threads, and third is Java threads. The video lecture would be mainly aimed at implementing and showing a practical approach of Java threads. However, I would also give a theoretical introduction to POSIX-P threads and Windows threads. Coming to the topic of POSIX-P threads, the programming of these types of threads is basically done in the C language. This is a code, an example code which would help you understand this concept better. First, I have imported the pthread.h library. Second is the standard input output library, and third is the sys/time.h library, which basically entitles us to use the get time of day function. Followed by this, I have made a function time calculate. I have declared variables t0, t1 and dt, which are of TimeWell type. TimeWell is a structure which again enables us to use the get time of day function. Now get time of day has a reference of t0 and t1. uh, t0 may be assumed as the start time, t1 may be assumed as the end time. We need to subtract both of these times in order to get the elapsed time, which is being performed by the timer subfunction, and the difference is stored in the dt variable. Finally, we are printing our outcome using the fprintf statement. Here pthread underscore self function is used to print the thread id. tv underscore second displays the time in terms of second, and tv underscore u second displays the time in terms of microsecond. Followed by this, I have printed my name and roll number. Coming to the main function, we first declare two threads, thread 0 and thread 1, which are of data type pthread underscore t. After this, we call the pthread underscore create function, which entitles and enables us to create a thread. It is being passed with four arguments. First is the reference of thread variables which we have declared earlier. Second stands for the attributes of thread. However, we are passing a null value here because we are not currently having any attribute of a thread, nor are we using it. Time calculate is a function that we want our thread to perform, and void star 0 is an argument, basically a command line argument. Pthread join allows the thread to completely execute the process which it has been entitled to do, and at the end of the execution, the newly created threads are merged with the main thread. So the outcome would be as follows. I have made two threads, which is evident with the help with the pthread ID as shown. Both of them are created in a time of about 1 microsecond, and my name and roll number have been printed two times because of the creation of thread took twice. Now coming to Windows threads. Every process contains one or more threads, and Windows thread is the basic executable unit. It has support for symmetric multiprocessing so that threads can be allocated separate processors within a system. There are three main components of Windows thread: kernel object, stack, and thread environment block. So in this pictorial representation, I would first describe about kernel object. Kernel basically has to deal with numerous files, threads, and processes, and in order to do so, it uses kernel data structures. These kernel data structures in general language are known as kernel objects. Once the thread kernel object has been made, the system allows allots a stack memory, and wherein the thread can handle all its local variables as well as the arguments it has to pass in the function. Then comes thread environment block. Thread environment block stores the information about exception handling, which in turn is used by SEH, that is Microsoft Structured Exception Handler. So these three form the main components of Windows thread. Now proceeding towards the creation and declaration of threads using a Java program, I would shift to my IDLE, that is IntelliJ IDLE. Before this, I would like to highlight a fact. Everything in Java is in terms of thread. For example, here I have made an array consisting of 5 elements, and if I try to access the AR5 element, which is actually array out of bound, it would give me error in the following form. Exception in thread main. This means that even the main function is in the form of thread, and everything in Java is in the form of thread. Each and every method which you make outside the main function is also a form of thread. Now coming to the main topic, I was to tell how to create and declare a thread in Java. So let this remain the main function. Before this, I would like to make a user defined function, public void run, and this would take an array. For simplicity, I am feeding the array right away, and I want each of the element to get added by 2. So AR of I equal to AR of I plus 2, and at last I would print my array. Now inside my main function I would write thread t1 equal to new my thread. But you would realize that this is popping an error to me. This is because I have not yet converted my class, that is my thread, into a subclass of thread. Thread is basically an inbuilt class of Java. So this can be done by typing this. Now you can see that the error had disappeared. Now using t1 I can access the run method, and if I finally run it, I see the output wherein each of the elements have been added by 2. 1 plus 2 is 3, 2 plus 2 is 4, and similarly for the other elements. So this is how we do the basic declaration and creation of a thread. Now I am going to the next topic, wherein I would show some further operations like how to implement sleep and how to make subclasses of a particular thread class, and how to deal with preemptive and non-preemptive execution of a particular function. So I'll declare a class known as class th1, and I'll make a function public void display. I'll make a loop that would display the message thread1 5 times. Same thing I would do for the class th2. The only difference is in the message. Message thus printed would be thread2. Now inside the main function, I would declare objects of both the classes. So this would be th1 ob1 equal to new th1, and this would be th2 ob2 equal to new th2, and I'll do ob1 display and ob2 display, and then when I run the function, thread 1 and thread 2 get each of them get printed 5 times. However, the execution speed is so fast that I am not able to see the step by step execution. So in order to put a delay in the output display rate, I would introduce my thread.sleep function. So here I would like write thread.sleep. The argument in it would be passed in terms of milliseconds, and therefore I would like to pass half of a second, that is 500 milliseconds. Here again I am getting popped with an error due to unhandled exception. So in order to handle this, I'll write throws exception in front of my function, and the error disappears. Same thing I would do for the second class, and this would be throws exception. Again, display is also popping up with errors because the main function too has to be modified in order to handle those exceptions. Now everything is sorted, and if I run it, you will notice that the each and every line is being executed after some time delay. So I can also increase the time as such. I'll do it 1000 seconds and do it here as well. And now if I execute, it will be observed that thread 2 procedure of printing would start only after 5 seconds, that is only after the time duration when thread 1 stops its printing. But this is a type of non-preemptive process wherein the process is not ready to give up upon the CPU unless and until it gets completely executed. However, this would lead to inefficient time management, and we are always preferring a preemptive approach over it. So I need to do something so that thread 2 gets accommodated in the time interval where the CPU is not being occupied by the thread 1 process. So in order to do that, I will have to convert my classes as a subclass of the thread class. This can be done by using extends thread. Here also I'll write extends thread. Now in the main function, since both of them are now converted into a subclass of thread, these objects are automatically owned by the main superclass thread. So I can call the method ob1.start. This is because I have converted my objects into thread type of objects. So I was able to do so. Now if I run my function again, it is again seen that I'll get the same output. See, this is the same output. This is because thread is an inbuilt class of Java, and in order to make a function get associated with a thread, the run function is to be overridden. Display is a user defined function, and it will be belonging to the user defined class, that is th1, but not the super inbuilt class, that is thread. So I would replace display with run. Here also I would make it run, and now since this is an inbuilt function, I cannot use this mode of exception handling and would have to use the try catch block. I'll put this sleep into this try block, reduce the time duration a little, and I'll use catch exception E. However, I am leaving the body empty because I know that exception is most likely not to occur. Similar thing would be followed in the second class. So this is the thing. Now ob1.display would no longer be valid, and I can simply remove it because the start function would kick the procedure of running the run function. So it, as a user, it is our duty to always override the run function in order to make the thread execute successfully. Now if I run the function, It's again seen that there is some amount of clashing between thread 1 and thread 2. It's not occurring in the exact alternate order that we want. You can see in that after the second instance of thread 2, again at the third instance thread 2 is being repeated. So this is because the scheduling concept comes into play here. Here, the scheduling algorithms are coming into play. Since both of the threads have not been assigned any priority, there is no question of executing one thread before another, and therefore the CPU adopts a random approach and would randomly give its utilization to any of the threads. This is because both of the threads are executing and approaching the CPU at the same time. The problem can be solved by introducing a slight time delay between the starting of two objects, and this will again be helped and done by the sleep function. I'll introduce this in between. I'll introduce a delay of about 10 milliseconds in between the start of object 1 and object 2, and now we shall get the output we have been desiring from so long. Thread 1, thread 2, thread 1, thread 2, all of them are being executed in an alternative manner. So this is how we can implement and code the various thread operations and various thread concepts using the Java programming language. Finally, returning back to the presentation, coming to points to remember. A user-defined thread class always needs to extend the inbuilt thread superclass in order to approve an object of its kind. It is necessary to perform appropriate exception handling in case you are using a sleep function, as in I changed my mode of exception handling from the normal throws exception to try catch block according to the function I changed. The thread object can be made to implement a particular operation only after overriding the inbuilt run method, and an effort has to be made in order to ensure the execution of threads in a preemptive manner. The effort made here was to introduce a delay between the starting of both these objects. So, congratulations, we have finally understood the application of Java threads with live coding demonstration. Thank you.